Okay, so coming to DataSphere. So this is how the DataSphere looks like, right? So when you log into the system, this is the home screen that welcomes you. And here there are a lot of interesting things. So let me know if all the text and everything is visible or you want me to make it a little bigger. So whenever I present whatever screen, if you find it hard to read, yeah, please let me know and I'll make it a little bit. Okay, so this is the DataSphere home screen. Right? So it is a web application. So when you are signed out, you'll be in the logon page, and when you put your username and password there, you will log into the home screen. Right. So this is the URL. So I hope Ankit has already shared with you, but I'll also share it once again with all of you. Right. So keep it bookmarked. And so there is a subtle difference. So if you go to this URL, it directly goes to SAC, right? And if you add a -1 here after mentor spool, if you put a -1, it is basically the DataSphere tenant, right? So yeah, both you can use your same username and password. Uh, and there is also an app switcher, which I'll show you now. So you can directly log into DataSphere or SAC using their own URLs. Or if you are logged into one of them, you can go to this button, which is called the product switch. So you can go here. And if you are in DataSphere, you can switch to SAC. And if you are in SAC, you can switch to DataSphere. Okay? So that is the first thing, which is in the DataSphere screen, which is the product switch. And the next thing you have is the profile. And you don't find a lot of options here in the profile because the profiles are maintained in IAS, which is SAP's Identity and Access System, which is IDP. So Ankit has created an IDP for this systems, and all the access is maintained from there. So whenever you are getting a mail about the user creation, you will be getting from the IDP. So this is your profile screen. Here you can go and do various settings to your profile. You can set your own profile picture. You can set your theme. You can set what are the cards that should display on the home screen. For example, there is the welcome card with that picture of the women. So if I don't want that, I can turn that off and it goes away. So like that, each of this, which we see here in the home screen, they are all called cards, right? So there are different cards we see here. So one is all the recent top 10 blocks in the DataSphere space, and then we have the spaces in the system. We have the integration tasks and so on. So if I don't like some of the cards, I can basically go here to my profile setting and I can turn off whatever I don't want, right? And coming to appearance, so there are a few SAP themes which you can switch. And in user account, again, there are certain things you can switch. But here, like I said, we are maintaining it through IAS, and maybe some of the things you cannot change here. So that's the reason. And coming to language and region settings, this is one of the important settings because depending on the country you're from, the date formatting, the time formatting, and the number formatting can change. Right. So these are some of the things that you can set yourself. And whatever you set here is going to affect only your user. You are not setting it for the entire system. So for setting it for the entire system, there is an option in the administration from where you can set that. Here, you are just overriding the setting. For example, maybe your admin has set the 24 hours time format for everyone. And maybe you are not comfortable with reading time in the 24 hours format. Then you can change to 12 hours, which will not affect everyone, which will just affect or which will only take effect for you. And then coming to the UI settings, so wherever there are objects like the views and tables and so on, by default, they'll show the business name. And in those particular builders or view builder or graphic builder itself, you will have a toggle to switch between technical names and business names. But for some reason, you don't want the default to be the business name. The default should always be technical name. Then here you can set that also. It's up to you. But anyways, in the individual builders level also, you can go and switch. For example, for some particular view, you suddenly want to see the technical name. Yeah, there is a way to directly see it. You don't have to switch it here for that. And coming to privacy, so here you have privacy settings of what objects you open, what are the recent objects, etc. Sometimes some people do not prefer the system to know all that, right? So they don't want the system to track what they are doing. So if that is the case, then yeah, you can say you can remove that check mark, and then you can also clear all the data that system stored about your recent activities. So that will what will happen is you will not see your recent objects in the whenever you're opening something. For example, if I'm opening my data builder or some particular things, if the system knows the recent objects, it can provide the cards like this, and it will show, okay, these are the recent spaces that you used, or these are the recently opened the data integration tasks, etc. But without the tracking, the system will not populate all these things. So if privacy is important and you think system should not track your activities, yeah, you can remove this. And the authorization, the consent is basically for running any scheduled task. It is not only here. We'll also see where the consent will appear, and you have to give the consent later. So it is basically the data sphere asking you, do you consent that anything that you schedule will be run automatically, and you have to consent it, because without the consent, your scheduled tasks like task chain will not run. So it will ask you consent wherever it is required itself. But here is a universal place where you can say, you know what, don't keep reminding me. I authorize you as a user. Go ahead and take my consent. Right. So these are all the profile settings. And then we have help, which is very useful, because sometimes some of the things we might not discuss, or sometimes you want more clarity, or you just want to go to immediately to a help documentation relevant to a particular section, right? Then this help is context sensitive. So I am now opening some screens. Don't worry about that, we'll cover all those in detail. I'm just randomly opening some screen just to show you the helpfulness of this help button, right? So now I am in a screen where we can create tables, right? And then we have a drop down here that says semantic usage, and then there are different options. So there is something called fact, dimension, etc., etc., right? So now you might want to understand, okay, what does each of these things mean, or even the whole screen, what are the different options mean? So in that case, if you click the help button, so you see this little question marks appear here. They are all context sensitive help. That means there is a help available for that particular option. For example, the semantic usage, I said I do not understand what are these different things. So if I go over it, so it shows, okay, so the type fact means something, dimension means something, hierarchy means something, etc. And then it has a hyperlink to take you directly to that particular screen also. So if I want to go to this particular screen, then I can click that, and it will take me to the help documentation, right? Previously, this help button was not that useful. It was just giving generic help, but now it is context sensitive help. So in whichever screen you are, based on the screen, it will give you help. So that in that way, it is very very useful, because some of the topics we will be covering in a high level. For example, the administration topics and all, and you might, for your particular job or project, you might want to take a deeper dive. And sometimes searching in the help documentation can be a little bit tricky or difficult. So one easy way to do it is, so go to the particular screen where you have questions, and then click the help documentation, and generally these type of help symbols will appear, and that will cover all the important sections in that particular screen. So that is about the help. So in the same help, you have a search functionality also. So if you are searching for something, then you can enter that particular search keyword, and then it will give you a shortlisted thing from that help documentation. And then yeah, that's basically the help documentation. And then we have support tickets. So whenever something that is supposed to work properly is not working, you all know, like most of you are very senior folks, so you know what is an incident and so on. So I don't have to explain that. So simply put, if something that is supposed to work is not working, so for example, you are doing everything right and then a view is not getting created, or after a particular update, all the views in your system are broken. Things like that happens from time to time. And for that, you have to report a bug or incident to SAP. And how do you do that? You have other tools like support.sap.com where you go and report the incident. But once you report the incident, SAP will ask you two things. So one is they'll tell you rerun the entire flow, and this time you download the log and attach to the incident. That's one thing they can ask, and this is how you do it. So you click this button, it will download the browser session log.
And for this to raise a ticket, we need a user ID, or we can raise with the ID what we have, with the ID what we log in.
It's a usual process. You need a user ID. You have whatever you do in the support.sap.com, that remains the same.
All right.
Right. So in that, the first thing they can ask is the log. So log you can get from here. The second thing they can ask is they will ask access to your system. They'll say, okay, you know what, we understand your problem. Now we want to check it in your system. And then you click this button, which will create a support user. And then you can just share the ID of the user. You don't have to share the password. You will not even know the password. The password will be automatically maintained in the SAP secure area. So they will know the password. The only thing you need to do is whenever the SAP asks you to give access to your DataSphere system, just click this button. That will create a support user. So if I click this button and say OK, now let's go to users. See here, a support user A91, this thing is created, right? So now I'll just go and put it in my incident that this particular user ID, that's all. See this particular user ID, and then I don't have to share password or anything with them. SAP knows that. So only thing you need to share is this particular number, whatever is in the first name, or the user ID itself, which is nothing but SAP underscore support and then this number, right? So yeah, that will. So what I would say is, whenever you are raising the incident, don't wait for SAP to come back and ask you, give me the log, give me the access. So the way I report incident is, I create a ticket, and when I am creating the ticket itself, I will already create the support user and I'll already download the log and attach it. That will save us a couple of days, because usually what happens, you report the incident, after a few days they ask you log, again you upload the log, again after a few days they ask you the support user. So already 2 weeks, 3 weeks would have been lost. So the moment you raise the incident itself, if you already give the support user, you already give the log, even if they want it or don't want it, it will basically save you time. Okay, so that's about the support experience. And then coming to the giving feedback. So SAP would like to know, whether how we enjoy the product or we don't like the product, etc. So we can take the survey and then we can complete the questions, and also we can give a short feedback. Also, like whatever you feel in words, etc. Again, it will. The idea is it will improve the product eventually. So the more and more people are giving feedback. For example, if you all say that creating views in data builder is difficult or something like that, so if they see more and more people giving the same feedback, then we can expect an improvement in that. And then we have notifications. So we'll see what type of notifications will appear here. For example, now we created a support user, and then a toast message came in the bottom, and the toast messages will disappear in some time. But what if I want to see the message again? Then I can see in the notification area, most of the important things that are happening in the system, they will all appear in the notification until you delete them manually, right? So if you think you have read all that and you don't want that anymore, you can delete everything. For certain things you want to keep and certain things only you want to delete, you can delete individual notifications also. And again, notifications have different types, so you can choose a particular type of notification, or if the list is very long, you can search within it, etc. So that all here are part of what we call as the title bar, right? So this over here, we have seen what are all the buttons in the right hand side. then we have certain things in the left hand side. So one is the SAP logo. So when you click that logo, it will take you to the home screen, irrespective of where you are. When you click the logo, it will take you to the home screen. And this logo, you can customize it. If it is you're working for a customer project, you can put the customer logo here. And this is a general training system, so we are okay with the SAP logo itself. So whenever you click the logo, the idea is it takes you to the home screen, and the very next thing that appears next to the logo is the app name followed by the breadcrumbs. So whenever I am in a different app, see for example, I am in Data Builder now. So it is saying Data Builder followed by my space name. So we'll see what are spaces. But for now, it shows my app bar my space name. Again, I go to a different app, maybe Business Builder. It shows Business Builder and followed by my space name. What if I want to choose a different space? Then I can click. This is a clickable thing. That's why it's called a breadcrumb. So if you click it, it will take you to the Business Builder. It will show all the spaces you have access, and then you can go to another space. So the beautiful thing is it remembers your last used space. So now in Business Builder, I am using test space. So if I go to Data Builder, so you see here in Data Builder, I am in test space. So that is one thing you have to be careful. So when you are working in a project and when you are fresh, you will be very aware and you will be doing things correctly. But when you are under pressure or when you are very tired, when you are working late overnight or on a tight project deadline, one thing that can happen is you will not notice the right space, right? So you might want to create something in some space, but you will be creating it in another space. A very common mistake. So one thing to keep aware is, so every time check this top bar, and even in the URL, you will see the space name. So make sure that you are working on the right space. So that way, this bar is very helpful. So it shows you the app you are on and then the space. So yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to show that. So if you are into a particular object, again, everything is a breadcrumb. So any previous link is clickable. So now I am inside a particular table. If I want to go back to the uh, whole of Data Builder, I can click that test and then it takes me to the screen. So if I'm inside a ER diagram or a view, anything, it will show me that particular object's name, right? And then from there, I can go to the any of the previous steps. So if I go here, it will take me to the particular space Data Builder. If I go to the Data Builder itself, it will take me to the space selector, right? So that is the functionality of this tab bar. And then we have the back button. So that is a little different than the browser back. So it will take you always, one step behind inside the data sphere, even if the URL changes or not changes, right? But the browser back will only work if the URL is actually changing. So if the URL is changing, like you are inside a table and the URL you see there is an address, something like that, then the back button will work and the forward button will work. But this back button, irrespective of whether the URL is changing, not changing, etc., inside DataSphere, if you have done something and if you want to go back, this back button will always work. So it's a safe bet. And sometimes, when you have unsaved changes, even this back button will warn you, but this back button is safer. Like if you click something, it will say that you have something unsaved, you want to go back, and so on. So that is the entire top title bar. And then we have the sidebar, which is called the navigation bar. That is where all the different functionality of the DataSphere is. Right. So I'll make it a little bigger so that you can see. And one thing you will see that is this menu is kind of responsive. So depending on your screen resolution, so the bigger resolution you have, it will not have space for everything. So it will create an overflow menu like this called more, and then it will put some of the options there. So maybe while I am presenting, you might see some options like connection here, and then in your screen you might be wondering, I don't see that, right? So one of the reason could be your resolution is very high, and so under the more options, some things have overflown. So that's one thing you can check. And then you see here in the side navigation bar, there are three sections divided by this three white lines, right? So they actually divide the data sphere into some logical groups. So this section on the top, it is for general users, any users who are just wanting to log into datasphere, and even if they don't have any specific access, they have only very minimal access, they will still see these three options. They are general user level options. And then we have the modeler or the technical consultant, and they have access to all this, right? And then we have administrators, the system administrators, the platform users, or the basis team, and they will generally have access to all these. So these things under this white line, they are all generally related to admin tasks. These things in the middle, they are related to generally all the data sphere uh, designing, building, modeling, everything. And these things are generally end user consumption, etc. So that's the white line separating each of them. And let's look at what are these apps individually on a high level, and then we'll be working on them in detail. So at that time you will have more clarity. So we have seen what is home. So home is basically the page which opens after you log in, and it has all these different cards which you can customize from the profile, right? It is a good, it will give you a good picture of what's happening in the system and what's happening in the SAP community, and so on. And you can directly jump to many things directly from here. For example, I have the recently used spaces. If I want to take a look at what's happening in a space, I can click and I can go from here. I can directly open the space management. I can directly open the monitor, the DI monitor. I can open the data builder, etc. So the home screen is pretty useful, and you can customize it. You can drag and drop whatever screen you want wherever. For example, if I want my data builder always next to my space, I can keep it like that. And then if I want to certain things, I don't use them anymore, I can go and I can turn them off, and I can create certain things. For example, I can directly create space from the home. So when I click this, I can directly jump to create space. Same way in data builder, there are a lot of things that we can create. So from the home directly, you are on Monday morning, you are going to office, and immediately you want to jump into work. The moment you log in, you want to start building a table. Directly, you can click here. From here, you can start building a table and so on. And then you have repository explorer, so which is nothing but uh, all the objects in your entire system, it's in a single view, irrespective of what space they are on and so on. Right, so I have two spaces currently created. One is called demo space, one is called test space. But on an actual production system, there can be hundreds of spaces, and then there can be objects in different spaces also. So sometimes you want to find a particular view or find a particular table. It's very difficult to go space by space and search for something. So this repository explorer will help you to find everything at one place. So it's like the repository of the whole data sphere system. And here we have some good options, like you can filter by space, you can filter by type. So if you know that you are searching for a view, then you can filter by view, and then you will be having only views from all the different spaces. If you even know the space, then you can even filter by space, like that. And then you have the search in the top, where you can enter some partial text or whole text, and then you can search for it. So basically, the repository explorer is very useful tool to find various things in the datasphere. And then we have catalog. So catalogs are now being added to all of the SAP products. In SAC also we have catalog. In S4 HANA also we have catalog. So one of the approach nowadays from SAP is like building catalogs. So here we have a separate session on catalog. We'll take a deeper dive into what are catalogs, and especially SAP is coming up with this new concept called data products. So we'll understand what is data products and so on. So for now, catalog is like if you go to a showroom to select something like a tile or a paint or something, they'll give you a big book with whatever they have, right, to for you to sample and browse through, and then find something that you want. The same way here also SAP is giving you a catalog of all things that are there. So what are the things? It can be assets, it can be KPIs, it can be data products, and so on. And there is a huge collection of them. And we can also create, after creating some objects in data builder and business builder, we can also publish them as catalogs, so that any user in our system, they can go to the catalog and then they can easily find the things they are looking for. And so we'll see more about what is exactly catalog and how do we create our own items in the catalog and so on. And then we have something called as data marketplace. So as the name suggests, what is a marketplace? So you can mostly buy things from a market, but if you are, if you have your own products, you can also sell in a market. Same way, data marketplace is where SAP, and SAP's partners, they officially sell data products, uh, and you can browse. You can search for different data products. Most of or many of the SAP delivered data products are free. These are different from the business content. So I will tell you the clear difference of what is business content and what is data product later. But yeah, here it is like the data itself as a product, right? For example, you want the COVID-19 data set from somewhere, right? So instead of you downloading it as a file and then putting it into DataSphere, someone who is a data company, they might already publish it as a API or as a data product in the data marketplace. And they might keep it free, they might keep it as a licensed version, and then you can directly buy from here. So why is it useful? A lot of the companies want specific data like finance data, research data, or market trends data, and so on. And there are companies that are specializing in the data. So they can sell it and these people can buy it. So it is a marketplace where buyers and sellers meet and then they can uh, get whatever data products they want. And semantic onboarding. So here is basically where we can enrich the different SAP system, different content network, different data products, and we can add meaning to them. By meaning, for example, someone is new and they open your system, they will not know what is what, right? And then if you want to add uh, meaning to it, you can add it. And the other important thing, one of the SAP's sales dialogue or sales phrase is that whenever you use DataSphere with SAP systems, the context is not lost, right? So if you are using other data warehousing system and then connecting to SAP S4 HANA or SAP BW for HANA, etc., then the context is lost. You will not know what is the source, what is the extractor, what is the query behind it. That entire context is lost. Whereas if you are using DataSphere, that entire context is still captured. So it is not only the data that is coming in, it is also the metadata, it is also the entire context which is still preserved. So we will also discuss in detail about what is semantic onboarding and how is DataSphere keeping the context of all the things that are coming in and so on. And then we have the two main areas where we'll be working as technical consultants in DataSphere. So one is called Data Builder, the other is called Business Builder. So Data Builder is where most of your time will be spent as a technical user. You will be the one who is creating all the objects in the Data Builder. So what are the objects you can create in a data warehousing system? Whatever you can do, right? Like from creating a table, from creating a view, and creating the data flows and so on. So you can create all those in the data builder itself. Then how is business builder different? So in business builder, it is targeted at the business users. So DataSphere is a self-service kind of product where SAP wanted the business users to create their own kind of models for their own reporting requirements. So they will not know, for example, the underlying the source system complexities and all. For the SAP source systems, the table name itself will be very complex. Like it will be MATNR, like different names will be there, and most of them will be from German converted to short form of English, and it will be very confusing, right? So end users might not know all the background like you. So you might know all the SAP's complexity and so on. So that's why the IT or the technical users will be building the data layer in the data builder, where they'll be connecting to the source system, they'll be creating the table, they'll be creating the view, and then they'll make it very easy for the business users. So in the business builder layer, whatever is already created by the technical users in the data layer, that will be consumed, and then further build, building can happen on top of that by the business users. So we'll see like what are the options we have here, and we'll build different things also. But while you are working in projects, most of the time you will be spending on the data builder only, and you will be creating different things here. And we have data integration monitor. That is nothing but like in BW, we have something called as process chain monitor, where you see, whatever is running in an operational system. And if something fails, you can take a look why it failed, the error message, and then you try to fix it. Same way here also, we have many things in the data builder that can be scheduled and run. For example, we can have a remote table, and then we can store snapshot of the data, and we can schedule a data flow, we can schedule a lot of things here like task chain and so on. And in the data integration monitor, we'll see all the schedules that are running. So we can go to a task chain and see what are the chains that are running, and what is the last status, and what is the next run, and so on. So this is the one place where you can monitor the different things that are running in the system. And then we have connections. So this is where we'll create connections to different systems. Again, in DataSphere, the connections and all these things that we saw now, data builder, business builder, everything is specific to a space, right? So that's why whenever I open something, it is always the app name / the space name, right? So space is the central concept of DataSphere. So this is how the space looks like, right? So in a DataSphere. So a space is nothing but, if you are coming from a database background, it is a schema, right? So in HANA database and all, you might have known about different schemas like sys schema, sysbig schema, DB admin schema, and so many user level schemas would be created. And then if you want, you can create project specific schemas like that. So same way here in DataSphere, whenever you want a certain container or certain folder structure where you want to group different things, you create spaces. For example, you can create one space exclusively for admin related content, one space for finance content, one space for sales content, and then you can share things across spaces also. So if you have a table in admin schema and you want to access it in your finance schema, then in the admin schema you can go to that table and you can share it with another space also. So the space is the central thing, and on that space only we'll be using the data builder, we'll be using the business builder, we'll be connecting we'll be activating something from content network, we'll be connecting different systems, and so on. So the space is the central concept. So now we'll see today itself how to create space and so on. So so that's here under space management. So this is where the system will list all the spaces that are currently there. So if you go to space management, so it is saying there are two spaces, and then the space names and so on. Here is where we can create and manage the existing spaces also. And then we have something called as a recycle bin. So if you delete a space, it will not get permanently deleted. It will go to the recycle bin, from where you can again, for some reason you want to restore it, you can restore it. Or if you want to permanently delete it also, you can delete it, and so on. So anything related to space, you will be doing it in the space management. And then we have something called a system monitor. So as an admin, you might want to track different things in the system. You might want to see how is the usage in the system, how much total storage is there, how much storage is already used, how many users are running what, and how many tasks have failed in the past, and so many things that as an admin you want to see in the system. So this system monitor is a great place where you can check all those details, and then from here you can also go to the database overview, which is again a little bit advanced. So if you are from HANA background, you will know that. So how to do HANA cockpit database overview. So that also you can jump from here. So one of the good things about DataSphere, which is not there in SAP Analytics Cloud or any other cloud product, is that it has a very close integration and openness to the backend HANA, right? So inside the spaces also, we'll see how we can create a DB user and how we can directly read or write from the HANA schema. So same way, even in the monitoring, we can go to the database overview and we can monitor certain things. Coming to translation, so this is where products like Datasphere and then product like SAP Analytics Cloud, they support multi-language text. So you create, a particular product and product description in English, and you want to translate to French, translate to Spanish, translate to Arabic. So you can do all that in the translation screen here. And we have security, so where we'll create users, we'll create roles, we'll create other access control. And other important thing is we can do a lot of auditing activities, right? So we can see who logged in and what they did in the system and so on. So I can now check how many people have logged in. So I can see that Venu, I think, maybe has logged in, and then Manju logged in, Gokul logged in, and I can see what they are doing and so on. Right. So as an admin, this is very important for me, because if something gets deleted or something gets corrupted and the customer asks me, okay, can you find out what happened to this particular table? It was working till yesterday, suddenly it's not working today. Then I can, go ahead and filter based on the table name. I can give a file name or object name, and then I can search for all the logs related to that object. And then I can see, okay, so which user did what? Did they read? Did they update? Did they insert? Did they delete? And was it successful? And when did they do that? All this information I can get. And one thing is, this type of logging will use space. So from time to time, you have to download the logs, right? So you have download option. So you can go ahead and say, maybe every month. So now it's November. So I want to download the entire October data. I can go ahead and select the entire October data. I can give it a name, maybe October logs or something, download it, and then I can put it in my SharePoint or somewhere safe for auditing purposes. And then I can come here and I can clean up the logs, right? So that way I don't have the logs keep on growing. So that's one type of housekeeping activity that we need to do. And then we have transports. So this is where we can create certain things in one Datasphere tenant, and then we can package them and we can export it to other Datasphere tenants. And similarly, in a Datasphere tenant, you can also import packages that are coming in from other Datasphere tenants. So that enables the transportation between development, quality, and production landscapes. So typically, SAP recommendation is at least for customers to have two tenants, so one non-production tenant and one production tenant. Because if you don't follow the SAP guideline, if you have only one Datasphere tenant, and then if you are raising some bugs to SAP saying that this thing is not working, then SAP can always say that you did not follow a guideline. So you're on your own, because you have your production and non-production data in the same system, and now something is corrupted. So you didn't follow a recommendation. So the recommendation from SAP is to have at least two systems if you are using it for production purposes. So you should have one non-production system where all the development, quality, everything happens, and then one production system. But typically, most of the SAP customers will have three system landscape. So where they will have one development system, one quality system, and one production system. So all the developments happen in the development, and then it gets transported to the quality, and all the testing happens in the quality, and finally from development it gets transported to the production where it is used by the end users, right? So all that is happening in the transport. And also we have the packages. So from here we can activate any packages from any cloud system that's coming in. And same way, you don't have to keep anything local. So previously the export import, when you're doing some dot package file or dot tg set file will get downloaded to your local PC. and then you have to upload it in another tenant. Now all of that is happening in the cloud space itself, so that nothing is storing in your local system. And then we have something called as data sharing cockpit. So like I said, in the data marketplace, people can go and see the products that are available, and then they can purchase it. And now you want to partner with SAP, and then you want to be a seller, you want to productize your data, you are creating data products, and you want to put a licensing on it. All that is manageable in the data sharing cockpit. Again, we'll not go into the details of it, because it requires certain things, like for example, you have to get an activation key generated for becoming a data provider from SAP, right? So you have to say activate data provider profile, and then it asks for activation key and so on. But we'll see the overview of what is data sharing cockpit, and if your company decides to be a data provider, how you can reach out to SAP and how you can work on this. So I'll share you the detailed documentation on this, and I'll give you a good blog on this, and we'll also walk through some of the steps. But again, it's not technically possible to do that on the system, because we need certain things to be done and get accepted and the code generated by SAP and so on, before you can do these things, right? And in your day-to-day project, it might not be your day-to-day work also. So some companies, when they want to make some money by becoming a data provider, they do this. So we will cover that, and you will have a good understanding of how to do this if the need arises. And then finally we have system. So in system we have the about section, from where you can see the particular version of your datasphere. So it is a cloud product, so it is always automatically updated. So you cannot stop the updates as an admin or anything, right? So SAP takes care of updating your system and all that. So only thing you can do is you can check your current version in the about section. You can check your version, you can check your tenant ID, you can check your database ID, and so on. Sometimes if SAP asks you, okay, so when you are reporting an incident, they can ask you, okay, do you know till which version it worked and when it broke and all that? So one thing you can check is from here the version of your datasphere. And any questions? Okay. So in system, again, we have two other important things. So one is administration. Here is where a lot of admin settings will be there. So as a system admin, if I want to configure particular parameters, this is the place where I can come and configure things. For example, this app switcher that we are using to switch between Datasphere and Analytics Cloud. So we have to link the tenants. So that we basically did in the tenant linking area. So here we put, the Datasphere URL is this, and Analytics Cloud URL is this, and when we click save, the product switch was enabled. So same way, there are a lot of things you can set up here. So some of the things we'll see how to do that, and some of the things are beyond the scope of this particular training. Same way, we have configuration. So in the configuration, again, while we are creating connections to SAP sources and non-SAP sources and on-prem sources and cloud sources, etc., we will have to do different settings here. So we will have to create trust, we'll have to whitelist IPs, we'll have to give the SSL certificate and so on. So whenever a particular thing is required, we'll see how to do that. And even the BW bridge, the configuration happens here. So we'll see, how those work and so on. So that's pretty much the navigational overview of the Datasphere, and also what are the key things that are in Datasphere that you can expect, right? So before we dive into space management, any questions?
Ram, one question. So you mentioned that between the spaces we can share, right? So what can we share? What are we sharing?